Okay, this is section 1.4. We start with question 29. It says use trace or table to evaluate the function. So we need our graphing calculator. Okay. Turn it on, obviously. Hit y equals. And you want to type in x to the third. So you type in x hat 3. But you have to arrow to the right to get out of the exponent. Subtract 3x hat 2. Arrow to the right to get out of the exponent. Add 2. Okay, so now I hit zoom 6 and it should give me a halfway decent table or graph. Okay, there's my cubic. Makes perfect sense. That's 2 changes in direction for degree 3. Okay, so now they ask us what's f of negative 2. You can use trace and you can move along the curve, but it's not very accurate. It doesn't give you an exact answer. And same thing with 3/4. There's an easier way and more accurate way to do it is to just hit second trace 1. Now when you give it a value for x, it will give you an answer for y. It will only give you an answer for x if the x is on the screen. My screen shows minus 10 to 10. So it can't do minus 18. Oh, but I'm only needing to ask minus 2, not minus 18. There we go. Minus 2 gives you minus 18 for the equation. And then if you type in 3/4, 3 divided 4, you get 0.73438 or 734375. Either one is correct. If you want to use a table, you have to do second table set first to set up the table. Typically you want it to start maybe at minus 10. And then down here is how far apart each number is, and you usually pick 1. So now when you hit second table, it gives you numbers from minus 10 all the way up to 0, up to 0, and then if you keep going down the page, you'll get more and more numbers. So we can get f of 2 this way, or f of negative 2 equals negative 18. Okay, and then if you want to do 3/4, that's a little more difficult because you have to choose your table set to be 0.25 in order to get to 3/4. 3/4 is 0.75, which is 0.73438. Okay, now 31, they say graph the function using a window that's a complete graph. Well, I graphed it, and with a 10 by 10, it chopped off the little part of this, so I ended up going minus 20 to 20. Then I also saw that I didn't need to go all the way out to minus 10 and 10. I went up minus 7 to 7. I was able to get the entire graph. And 41. 41, they give you an equation, which is the number of females under the age of 18. X is the number of years after 2020. So you use a graphing calculator. And you use these numbers from 0 to 40 and 0 to 45 and graph it. Okay, so you type in 0.150x plus 37.4. And when you hit window, you type in the minimum window is x min is 0, x max is 40. X scale, leave that alone. Y min is 35. Y max is 45. Instead of Y, they use N. And again, leave Y scale alone. So now when you hit graph, there's your graph right there, which is what I drew right here. Okay, and I found 2 points. This one is pretty easy. When you let x equal 0, you find 0, 37.4. And this one I let x equal 40, and I got 43.4. Then part B says, what if, they say the point 20, 40.4 lies on the graph. What does this mean? Remember, X is the number of years after 2020, so this is 2024, and the Y value is how many millions of women under or girls under the age of 18 there are. And then C says predict how many there will be in 2030. So you got to let X be 10, and you get 38.9 million. Okay, 43. 43 says expenditure of consumer expenditure depends on the market price, P. So you got E on the y-axis and you got P on the x-axis. And there's your equation. And you type it into your calculator and you use windows of minus 50 to 150, minus 50,000 to positive 300,000. And you hit graph and it looks like this. Now they say that E has to be greater than or equal to 0, so you only can pick from here to here. So your P is restricted from 0 to 100 because your E has to be positive above the x-axis. So you're restricting P to be between 0 and 100 here. 44, they give you an equation for the height of a ball thrown vertically in the air. And so they're looking for the equation or the graph, and they graph it from minus 2 to 10, minus 20 to 250. And when you graph it and you try and find that highest point, remember to find a maximum, you do second trace 4 for maximum. And you always move to the left of the point, enter, right of the point, enter, and then at the point, guess. And it will tell you 3.5196. And that means the ball is at its height of 196 feet after 3.5 seconds. Please note, by the way, that they're throwing the ball straight up in the air. But as time goes by, the height of the ball changes. So it looks like somebody's throwing the ball somewhere far away, but they're actually throwing it straight up in the air. And when you show something's height based on time, it actually looks like a curve, not a straight line. And then the last one, number 48. Number 48 says Social Security is talking about the Consumer Price Index, which is Y, and the number of years after 210 is X. So they want you to make a table and try and come up with some decent values, and so I chose a whole bunch of different numbers, and then I saw it doesn't make sense for X to be smaller than 0, so I chose 0 and bigger. And I ended up going with 0 to 50 and 90 to 200, 300, because 90 is smaller than the smallest and 300 is larger than the largest. Then when I graphed it, 0 to 50 and 0 to 300, or actually 90 to 300. Then part C says, estimate what the predictor will be when it reaches 200. Well, 200 gives you something about somewhere around 28. Okay? You can use your graphing calculator to graph. Y1 is the curve, right? And Y2 is 200. And then just look where they intersect. Second trace 5. Enter, enter, enter. And so when you get 20 for X, or 28 for X, that means 2010 plus 28, which is 2038.